Let's talk about building wealth. One of the things that you really don't consider when you're young, right? You're not too worried about the older version of yourself. But what if I told you, hypothetically, right? Non-financial advice, but you see the title of the video. What if one pair of Jordans could essentially pay for every pair you ever wanted for the rest of your life? Today's video, I want to show you guys how skipping one release, right? You're upset. This is a shoe you really wanted, but there's no downside because instead we're going to take that money and put it into a stock that's going to pay you for the rest of your life and pay your kids, and you're just going to pass it down from generation to generation and be probably one of the best grandpas ever. Your legacy will always be remembered. Today we're moving aside the hype and we're talking about building real wealth. So currently in today, 2025, the retail of a Jordan 1 is running around $180. Now, instead of running your pockets for that $180, what would happen if you were to buy Nike stock? And we'll take this even further. Let's say, what if Nike paid you out each year enough to buy one pair of Jordans pretty much every single year? And how we're going to break this down is essentially simple math, right? So the current dividend for Nike right now is around $1.41 per share, and that's on an annual basis. So realistically, you need around 128 shares of Nike in order to buy you one pair of Jordans that retail around $180 each year. At the current time of shooting this video, when I bought my shares, they were $58.57. So we're just going to base the video off of that. So we take that $58.57, multiply that by 128 shares, and our investment's going to be somewhere around $7,500. And a lot of people are like, Mike, I don't have $7,500 right now, bro. And me neither. And that's why we just take it brick by brick, about 4 shares, essentially the price of a pair of Jordans. I spent $200, but I just bought income for the rest of my life. Now, there are circumstances where Nike does cut dividends and it does pay quarterly. That's not something I'm necessarily concerned about. I'm in it for the long haul. And if we look at the history of Nike and their payouts, they've been extremely consistent since 2011. Now, let's let our math do some mathing. The most important thing is compound interest, right? I heard about this back in high school. I completely ignored it. I regret it so much. But that's why we're here, man. It's honestly never too late. And some people might be like, man, dude's trying to tell me what to do, blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, man. I heard this quote that said, we often need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. And this is just a daily reminder for you, for myself. Let's build, you know? Now, if we decided to just hold those shares and reinvest the dividends, we just didn't buy the Jordans, that $7,500 in 10 years would become $15,000. In 20 years, that would double from $15,000 to $30,000. And then by year 30, it'd be worth $60,000. And at that point, you would basically be able to buy 10 pairs of shoes for free. No dividends would need to be reinvested and your money would just keep growing. And I know a lot of you guys are thinking, 30 years, bro, I'll be 60 years old, man. I ain't trying to be no old head wearing Jordans. And that's not the point, guys. You can do both. You can still wear your Jordans. You could buy 2, flip 1, buy a stock, buy your shoes. I'm just trying to reshape your mind. And no part of this are we saying stop spending money or don't buy shoes or buy what you like, man. We could all die tomorrow. But it's the fact of, at the end of the day, what do you have to show for it? And I think that's kind of where I'm dedicating this channel to see who's going to walk the walk and who's going to talk the talk. Where are we going to be in 10 years? Are we going to be in the same exact spot? Or are we going to grow tremendously? We can run those numbers again. Like I said, that first year of $7,500, you're going to get paid out around $189, which is essentially going to buy you one pair of J's. 10 years down the line, you're going to get paid out $410, which would give you enough for almost 3 pairs. By that 20th year, $860 in dividends, which is going to give you about 5 pairs. And then by year 30, like I said, 10 pairs you'll be able to buy. Granted, we're not including inflation. Who knows how much these shoes will push up in price, but you guys get the point. This is all hypothetical. But when you go into the history of these dividends, you can really look back in history and see how a company is performing and if they've been consistently paying out dividends, if they've raised in price. You know, at one point, Nike was paying a good amount and it slowly dropped and then it rose back again. And as of lately in 2025, it looks like they're paying around 40 cents per quarter on these shares. The thing about investing is that the drip strategy wins long term. And if you don't know what drip is, essentially it's whatever you're getting paid out through dividends, you just reinvest right back in the stock. So it just automatically buys more stock. You don't even got to think about it. So then by the time year 30 comes around, you might end up having 250 shares when you started with 128 doing nothing. Therefore, we know more shares is going to equal more income. And again, like I said, hypothetically speaking, there's still taxes involved. Depending on the account that you're going to be doing this in, whether it's a Roth or just a taxable brokerage, a Roth obviously is tax-free. So if you just decide I'm not touching any of the money, you don't even have to worry about it. I think the real bottom line here is, obviously, if you spend the dividend you make, you get a cool pair of Jordans out of it. But if you reinvest them, you might really buy yourself some freedom down the line. And I mean this for generations. You don't need thousands to get started with this. You don't need hundreds to get started with this. You can literally open an account, buy one stock, Nike in this case, and let that be your first time buying income. And obviously we know, you hear buy low, sell high. Buying low allows you to mitigate your risk. It allows you to get more shares, obviously. I think the lowest we've seen was around $54. You buy that stock on sale and it pays you. Again, I'm not saying don't buy Jordans. You know, we got plenty of J's around here. I'm just saying start owning a piece of the company that makes them. Let them pay you. It's crazy if you think about it. One less pair today can fund pretty much every pair tomorrow. And it's just going to take patience, just like everything else. You want to lose weight, it takes a lot of discipline and patience. You want to live passively off dividends, it takes a lot of discipline and patience. I feel like today we're so focused on instant gratification. We lose sight of a level of get rich for sure, right? Yeah, you could buy 4 pairs and probably double your investment, boom, right on the spot, especially when the market's hot. But this is such a passive way of life that I feel like was not taught enough to any of us. So let me know what you guys think. Will you be buying any Nike stock? Do you already own Nike stock? I still wish I would have got back in on Adidas before the whole Yeezy run, because the stock went from like $11 to something crazy. Much love as always, man. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video. This